Is something wrong with you? Have you ever wondered why, even when surrounded by commitments, activities, and even leisure moments, it sometimes feels like something essential is missing? It's as if we're living on autopilot, going with the flow, but not truly present. Days that begin and end like a repeated script, without the slightest pause to reflect on what we're feeling or where we're heading. Maybe you've laughed at something without finding it funny, just to fit in. Or perhaps you've caught yourself postponing important decisions because it seemed easier to keep doing what you've always done, even if it didn't bring you satisfaction. If this feeling is familiar to you, know that you're not alone. Sometimes we get used to carrying the weight of I should be happier, more fulfilled, more motivated. But the truth is, living on autopilot steals our connection with who we truly are. We follow paths we didn't consciously choose, accept routines that don't represent us, and with each passing day, the emptiness seems to grow. But now, stop for a moment and think, what do you really want? Not what others expect of you, not what's on society's checklist, but what makes sense deep in your heart. Because the good news is that this feeling of emptiness isn't the end. It's a call, an invitation to take back control, to step out of this automatic mode, and to start living with intention. Imagine what it would be like to wake up every day feeling aligned with what truly matters to you. The laughter would be genuine, the choices meaningful, and life would no longer be just a sequence of tasks. This is possible, but it starts with a small step, taking a pause to reflect on what you want to change. So, shall we go together? We don't need to have all the answers now, but we can take the first step, break the inertia, and begin creating a life that reflects who we really are. After all, life only makes sense when you are the author of your own story. But if the feeling of emptiness makes us question our steps, we need to go further. Who and what are we allowing to influence our journey? Often, autopilot isn't just fueled by our inertia, but also by the voices, habits, and distractions surrounding our daily lives. And here arises a powerful reflection. Are we surrounded by people and choices that help us grow, or by those that keep us stagnant? 2. The influence of bad company and useless distractions. Think about the time you spend scrolling through your phone, getting lost in videos that say nothing, or revisiting profiles that add nothing to your life. Or reflect on those conversations that only revolve around complaints, criticism, and gossip without any genuine or constructive exchange. Have you noticed how these small choices can silently shape your life? Sometimes we're so accustomed to certain friendships or habits that we don't even realize the impact they have on us. The company we keep and what we consume can either fuel our dreams or become a weight that drags us deeper. And this doesn't mean blaming others or distancing ourselves from everyone and everything, but rather evaluating who or what is helping you become your best version. If you saw yourself in this description, it's not a reason to despair, but a call for awareness. Because here's a transformative truth: you have the power to decide what to focus on. You can trade empty conversations for inspiring dialogues. You can replace hours lost on social media with moments dedicated to learning, creativity, or even self-care. Ask yourself, do the people around me push me forward or pull me back? Does the content I consume help me grow or merely distract me? Because deep down, everything you allow into your life, be it through people, words, or images, shapes who you are becoming. If this seems challenging, remember, you don't have to change everything at once. Start small. A new book instead of random videos, a polite no to draining conversations, some offline time to reconnect with yourself. The choice is always in your hands, and choosing better today means creating a stronger, freer, and more aligned tomorrow with who you want to be. As we reflect on the impact of company and distractions, an even deeper question emerges. What are we doing with our time. Because in the end, it's not just about how we spend the minutes of the day, but about how much those moments transform us, move us, and help us grow. Are we truly living or just watching time slip through our hands? 3. The distorted perception of time and the lack of growth. Have you ever had the feeling that days are passing too quickly? That weeks fly by, months disappear, and suddenly the year is over? But looking back, you don't feel like you've lived through anything remarkable? This happens because without personal growth, without constant learning, life starts to feel like a repeated movie. When we're stuck in monotonous routines, without challenging ourselves or seeking something new, time seems to accelerate. And do you know why? Because our brain registers changes, unique moments, and learning as milestones. These are the points that give texture to our memory and make the days feel rich. Without that, everything becomes a continuous line without a beginning, middle, or end. Think about it. When was the last time you tried something new? When did you step out of your comfort zone to learn something that truly moved you? When did you dedicate yourself to a project or idea that brought a greater purpose? Often, it's not that time is flying. It's that we're living without renewal, without creating stories worth remembering. But this can change. And it starts with a simple decision. Not letting another day go by without growing, without learning something new, without taking a step toward becoming the person you want to be. It can be small, an interesting book, an enriching conversation, a course you've always wanted to take, or even the courage to say yes to something that feels challenging. The good news is you don't need major revolutions to start. Just consistency. With every new learning, with every little change in perspective, you'll realize that days become richer, more meaningful. Time isn't your enemy. It's a gift, and you have the power to make it extraordinary, day by day. Now, imagine looking back a year from now and seeing how much you've grown, how time has become a collection of stories, learning, and achievements. That future starts now, with the decision to make each day count. So, what will you do today to change that? And as we reflect on the time that seems to slip away and the lack of growth, an inevitable question arises. Where does this feeling of emptiness that often accompanies us come from? To understand how to move forward, we need to look back, identify the roots of this feeling, and explore what's blocking our ability to live fully. 4. Identifying the causes of existential emptiness. The feeling of emptiness doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's often a silent reflection of aspects of our lives we've neglected or disappointments that have left scars. But we don't always allow ourselves to stop and investigate. When did this start? What brought me here? Sometimes the emptiness comes from neglecting our physical and mental health. In the daily rush, we ignore the body's signals, postpone that necessary rest, or pretend everything is fine when, in reality, it's not. A tired mind and a worn-out body make it even harder to find purpose or joy. Other times, it stems from disappointments. Maybe a plan that didn't turn out as expected, a relationship that hurt, or even the frustration of not being where we thought we'd be at this point in life. When these wounds aren't faced, they turn into an invisible burden, a weight we carry without realizing it. There's also the impact of being disconnected from our personal goals. When we live without clarity about what drives us, or without pursuing what truly matters, life can feel empty, even if full of activities. It's like running without a destination. The effort is there, but direction is lacking. Now ask yourself, what is missing in my life? What part of me have I been ignoring? Facing these questions might be uncomfortable, but it's also liberating, because identifying the causes of emptiness is the first step to transforming it. So, take a moment to reflect. Go back in time and try to understand, when did you start feeling this emptiness? Was there a specific event, or was it something that grew gradually? What areas of your life are asking for more attention? Above all, remember, feeling empty isn't a sign of weakness, but a call, an invitation to look within, reorganize your priorities, and start reconnecting with what makes you feel good. And you know what's most beautiful about all this? It's that by facing this process, you may discover that what seemed lost is still there, waiting for you. How about starting today? Dedicate some time to yourself. Listen to what your mind and heart have to say. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. The emptiness can be the beginning of a powerful transformation. Understanding the roots of emptiness is an essential step, but reflection without action can keep us stuck in the same place. If we want to transform emptiness into fulfillment, we need to break inertia, put movement into our lives, and take the reins of our path, because it is in action that purpose begins to take shape. 5. The role of action and movement in the search for purpose. Have you noticed how often the simple act of starting something completely changes your energy? It could be taking that first step on a postponed project, trying something new, or even facing an old fear. Movement unlocks what seems impossible and creates space for purpose to flourish. Inertia, on the other hand, is a subtle trap. When we remain still, whether physically, emotionally, or mentally, we become prey to discouragement, fear, and doubt. The longer we stay motionless, the more the emptiness grows, because stagnation disconnects us from what makes us feel alive. But the secret lies in starting, even if it's with small steps. Movement doesn't need to be perfect or grand. What matters is that it's consistent and aligned with your essence. Think of something that excites or challenges you, something related to who you truly are or what you wish to become. It could be enrolling in a class, changing your exercise routine, starting a new habit, or simply dedicating a few minutes a day to a forgotten dream. And do you know what's magical about movement? It not only brings you closer to purpose, but also helps you correct flaws and develop skills. Because when you take action, you discover strengths you didn't know you had and learn to deal with obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. So ask yourself, what's the next step I can take? What can I do today, no matter how small, to break inertia? Because purpose isn't something you suddenly find. It's something you build one day at a time by aligning your actions with who you wish to be. Movement generates clarity, and clarity generates transformation. And you deserve a life where every step has meaning, where every action brings you closer to a more fulfilled version of yourself. Shall we start now? A simple movement, a firm decision, and everything can begin to change. After all, purpose isn't waiting for you out there. It's within you, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And that moment is now. Movement is transformative, but for it to lead us in the right direction, we must know where we want to go. This is only possible when we are connected to our essence, because without this connection, we risk moving a lot, but without purpose, like a lost compass in the midst of a storm. That's why taking care of your own essence is so crucial. 6. Neglecting your own essence. How many times have you felt like you didn't exactly know what you wanted? That feeling of indecision, as if all options were vague and none felt right. This happens when we disconnect from what truly matters: our desires, our values, our essence. Amid the rush, external pressures and daily demands, it's easy to neglect who we truly are, to trade our wants for shoulds, and to ignore the internal signs calling for attention and let the noise of the outside world dictate our choices. The problem is that by doing so, we lose sight of what makes us happy, and the consequence is indecision, emotional weakness, and often the feeling of being adrift. But why does this happen? Because taking care of your own essence requires courage. It's easier to go with the flow, to please others, or to adopt goals that aren't really ours. Stopping to look inward and asking yourself, what do I really want, can bring uncomfortable answers and often change the course of your life. But it's this attention to our essence that strengthens us emotionally. When we know what we value and what we desire, we can make decisions with more clarity and purpose. More importantly, we feel more secure and resilient in the face of challenges because we are living in alignment with who we truly are. So how can we start taking care of our essence again? Begin by reserving moments of silence. Reflect on what brings you joy, on the activities and people that make you feel whole. Ask yourself, what values are non-negotiable for me? What do I truly need to be happy? At first, the answers might not be clear. That's okay. The simple act of looking inward is already a powerful step. With every small decision aligned with your values, you'll feel your essence blossoming again. Remember, you are unique, and your happiness doesn't lie in meeting others' expectations, but in honoring who you are. After all, truly living means living in harmony with your essence. So how about starting to pay more attention to it today? Because you deserve to live a life that reflects the best of you in every choice and every moment. Reconnecting with your essence is a powerful act, but this reconnection requires more than intention. It requires choices. Because in the end, the life we live is shaped by the decisions we make every day. And one of the most important choices we can make is between stagnation and growth. 7. The conscious choice to evolve versus mediocrity. Many times we view stagnation as something that just happens, as if it were inevitable. But here's the truth. It's a choice. It might not be a conscious choice, but it's still the result of daily decisions not to try, not to insist, not to take that step beyond the comfortable. Mediocrity doesn't mean being incapable or less talented. It arises when we stop challenging ourselves, stop seeking growth, and stop believing we can do more. And do you know what's most insidious about it? It's sneaky. It comes disguised as excuses like, I don't have time, it won't make a difference, or I don't know where to start. But deep down it reflects a silent surrender of something greater we could achieve. Evolving, on the other hand, requires courage and commitment. Major changes don't happen overnight. They require time, effort, and above all, patience. But unlike mediocrity, growth rewards us. Every small progress gives us strength, confidence, and the sense that we are on the right path. That's why one of the biggest mistakes we can make is giving up too soon. Imagine planting a seed and days later abandoning the care because you don't yet see the fruit. Often, what we lack isn't ability, but persistence. Persistence to overcome the hard days, to resist the temptation to return to the familiar, and to believe that the effort is worth it. The big question is, what are you choosing now? Because growth is always a conscious choice. It's not something that happens automatically, it requires intention. And when you choose to grow, even if slowly, you're saying yes to the best version of yourself. So ask yourself, what can I do today to grow, even if it's a small step? It could be finishing something you started, learning a new skill, or simply staying firm in a commitment you've already made. Mediocrity is comfortable, but it will never be satisfying. And you deserve more than that. Remember, great changes begin with small movements. And when you persist, there's no limit to what you can achieve. So choose to grow, even when it's hard. Because the life you desire is waiting on the other side of your decision not to give up. And it's worth it. Choosing to evolve is the first step toward transforming your life. But for this journey to have direction, we need to look within and understand who we truly are. Because without self-awareness, we risk pursuing goals that don't represent us or ignoring the immense potential we already carry. 8. The importance of self-awareness and continuous development. Self-awareness is the foundation of all transformation. It allows us to see not only our strengths but also our limits, because before achieving what we want, we need to understand who we are. Only those who truly know themselves can shape their maximum potential. Think about it. Do you know what your greatest talents are, or on the contrary, what habits or beliefs might be holding you back? Self-awareness provides clarity to identify where you are now and what you need to do to get where you want to be. It's like having a map to navigate the waters of life. Without it, we're adrift, trying to follow directions that don't make sense to us. But self-awareness isn't an endpoint, it's a continuous process. It's not just about discovering who we are, but about always being willing to grow, to learn, to fix what isn't working, and to strengthen what makes us unique. It's a balance between accepting who we are today and investing in who we want to be tomorrow. This process requires courage. Sometimes looking inward can be uncomfortable. It's hard to admit our flaws or recognize the need for change. But it's precisely in this vulnerability that the power of transformation lies. After all, we don't correct flaws to become perfect, but to become truer to ourselves. Continuous development also gives us autonomy. When we know ourselves and are committed to constant growth, we don't need to rely on external validation or ready-made answers. We become the protagonists of our choices, confident that we're on the right path, even amidst uncertainties. So, how can we begin? Take time to observe yourself. Reflect on what motivates you, what challenges you, and what makes you happy. Try new things to uncover hidden talents. Ask yourself, what can I learn from the challenges I'm facing today? And remember, self-awareness isn't about changing who you are, but about discovering the best within you. It's about building a life that is both true to your essence and open to your growth. After all, the best version of yourself isn't the one that never makes mistakes, but the one that's always learning, growing, and allowing itself to be whole. So, start today. The path to your maximum potential is already within you. The process of self-awareness is liberating, but in a world full of noise, staying true to who you are can be a challenge. Distractions and external pressures are everywhere, trying to shape our choices and values, often distancing us from what truly matters. And it's precisely here that many people lose their essence. 9. The impact of distractions and external pressures on personality. We live in an age where we're bombarded with trends, opinions, and promises of instant happiness. Social media, advertising, and even the expectations of friends and family seem to constantly shout, "Be like this, do that, have this." Amid so much pressure, it's easy to start shaping our lives based on what others expect, rather than what we truly want. Consumerism feeds this disconnection. We're encouraged to believe we need more products, more status, more approval. But instead of filling a void, all this makes us feel even more disconnected from ourselves. Because the truth is, identity can't be bought, and authenticity isn't built on fleeting trends. And what happens when we let ourselves be carried away by these distractions? We lose our uniqueness. We start to become generic individuals, more concerned with being accepted than with being true to ourselves. This disconnection creates a dangerous cycle. The more we try to please others or follow imposed standards, the further we drift from our essence and the greater the feeling of emptiness and dissatisfaction. But here's the key: you don't need to conform to the world to be enough. What makes you unique is within you, not what you possess or how you present yourself to others. Regaining your identity begins with the courage to ask yourself, do I really want this, or am I trying to please someone? This doesn't mean ignoring what's around us, but it does mean choosing consciously which influences to allow space in our lives. Filtering what we consume, both materially and emotionally, is an important step toward reconnecting with who we are. So, take a pause. Observe your choices, your desires, and even your worries. Ask yourself, am I living according to my values, or am I going with the flow to be accepted? The more honest you are with yourself, the easier it will be to distinguish what's genuine from what's imposed. And remember, being true to yourself in a world full of distractions isn't weakness, it's strength. That's what sets you apart, what makes you real, what makes you you. The world doesn't need more generic individuals, it needs you in your most authentic and true form. So disconnect from what doesn't serve you. Reconnect with who you are, because living to please others may bring temporary acceptance, but living to be true to yourself brings freedom, and freedom is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Disconnecting from external pressures and rediscovering your authenticity is essential, but the world doesn't stop testing us. How we respond to challenges not only defines who we are, but also who we can become. Here, resilient thinking becomes the key to turning obstacles into stepping stones. 10. Resilient thinking as the key to overcoming difficulties. When faced with difficulties, it's common to feel tempted to complain or find excuses. After all, blaming circumstances seems easier than facing the challenge head-on. But while complaints hold you back, resilience sets you free. Because being resilient isn't about ignoring problems, but facing them with courage and purpose. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay in the same place lies in mindset. Those who focus on excuses tend to spend energy justifying why something can't be done. But those who adopt a resilient attitude focus that energy on finding solutions, adapting, and staying in motion, even when everything seems to be working against them. Developing resilience takes practice. It's not an innate skill, but a muscle that grows every time we choose not to give up. This doesn't mean you can't feel frustrated or down. That's natural. What matters is what you do after those moments. You can get up, learn from the mistake, and move forward with even more determination. And do you know the secret to cultivating this mindset? Having clear goals. When you know what you're striving for, it's easier to see challenges as part of the process, not insurmountable barriers. Ask yourself, what do I want to achieve? What can I do, even in small steps, to get closer to that today? Resilience is also about perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Every difficulty carries an opportunity for growth, learning, or strengthening. Remember, the most successful people aren't those who never face difficulties, but those who don't let difficulties define them. They choose action, adaptation, and progress. And you, how are you responding to the challenges that come your way? Today is the perfect day to decide to abandon excuses and start building a resilient mindset. Because when you take control of your reaction, you discover that difficulties aren't the end of the road, but the beginning of a new phase of overcoming. Resilience transforms. It gives you the strength to keep going, even when everything feels hard. And with it, there's no limit to what you can achieve. So, choose to grow, choose to overcome, choose to be resilient. Developing a resilient mindset prepares us to overcome obstacles and achieve goals. But there's something even deeper on this journey, the need to purify the mind, to free ourselves from the noise that distances us from who we truly are. Because without this internal cleansing, we remain trapped in patterns that limit our potential. 11. Purifying the mind and returning to essence. In a world full of distractions and external influences, our minds can become a confusing terrain where ideas, fears, and others' expectations blend, obscuring our true essence. It's like a window that, over time, accumulates dust. If we don't clean it, the inner light starts to fade, and we grow increasingly disconnected from our purpose. Purifying the mind is an act of courage. It requires us to let go of what doesn't serve us, toxic thoughts, limiting beliefs, unfair comparisons and distractions that merely take up space without adding value. It's a process of detachment, not only from what surrounds us, but more importantly, from what we carry within that no longer makes sense. But what does it mean to return to essence? It means rediscovering what is true and authentic in us. It's finding our original potential, often muffled by external pressures or internal voices that say, "You're not capable." It's regaining faith in the power of our ideas, passions, and ability to make a difference. This purification doesn't happen all at once. It's a daily practice. It requires moments of silence, reflection, and self-development. It could be meditating, reading an inspiring book, journaling your most sincere thoughts, or simply disconnecting from social media to hear your own voice. Ask yourself, what in my life is distancing me from who I truly am? What thoughts or habits do I need to leave behind to create space for the new? The more honesty you bring to these questions, the clearer your path back to your essence will be. And don't worry if the process seems slow. Purifying the mind isn't about perfection, but about progress. Each small step you take to eliminate distractions and psychological clutter brings you closer to a more authentic and powerful version of yourself. Remember, the potential you're seeking is already within you. It has always been there, waiting for the right moment to emerge. When you remove what isn't essential, what remains is your truth, your strength, your essence. So, start today. Take time to care for your mind, clear away what weighs it down, and nurture what uplifts it. Because, in the end, returning to your essence is the greatest gift you can give yourself. It's there that you'll find the freedom to live fully, with purpose and authenticity. Everything we've discussed so far, from self-awareness to resilience, from overcoming distractions to purifying the mind, is an invitation to something greater, transforming your life into a journey of meaning and authenticity. But this transformation only happens when you decide to act. Reflection is the first step, but it's the commitment to self-development, day after day, that truly changes everything. Each small action, each moment of self-awareness, and each choice aligned with your values is a piece that builds the life you want to live. Ask yourself now, what can I do today to start or continue this journey? It could be as simple as dedicating a few minutes to reflect on who you are, reevaluating your priorities, or taking the first step toward a dream that seemed distant. Don't underestimate the power of the first movement. Remember, the path doesn't have to be perfect, and progress can be small. What matters is the commitment to growth. You don't need to have all the answers now, just the courage to start and the determination to keep moving forward. And we are here to accompany you on this journey. Use this space as a point of support, a place to share your experiences, seek inspiration, and connect with others who are also traveling their paths. Leave your reflections, questions, or even a commitment you want to make to your self-awareness in the comments. Let's grow together. Because life isn't about being perfect, it's about being true. And by choosing truth, you choose to live fully and authentically. So, start now. Trust the process, and remember, you are stronger and more capable than you imagine. The transformation you seek is within your reach, and it starts with you. We're in this together. Shall we?